CTV's Jeremie Charron standing by in the Capitol with more on this. And we're going to get to the latest on the tariffs back and forth here, but a little bit of a snapshot on the economy, and there is some growth, and that's always good.
Yeah, absolutely, Todd, but it is certainly tied to those tariffs as well. What we saw here in the first quarter is a lot of deliberate business behavior. You talked about some of the energy exports or extraction of some of those goods, and the exports of goods are what drove a lot of the gains in the economy in this first quarter. Businesses being deliberate about trying to buy themselves some time, if you will, in the face of these tariffs, trying to do as much business as possible in the face of these looming tariffs that now, many of which are in place. Some sectors already being impacted by these tariffs, but that is what we saw in the first quarter here. And we saw not only in exports and imports going up in an effort to try and kind of stockpile, if you will, or bring in as much or export as much product early on so that it is tariff-free. The same can be said about, a lot of businesses. We're seeing businesses bringing in products prior to the imposition of tariffs to be able to sell them tariff-free. We're seeing, businesses here in Ottawa and across the country using that as a marketing tool even, Todd. Being able to advertise prices as tariff-free prices or pre-tariff prices, if you will. So certainly there has been a deliberate effort by, in the business sector to do everything they can to try and at least delay the impact of these tariffs. And that is kind of what has driven this economic growth. So a bit of a caveat to that number, and many will be watching now to see what happens through the rest of the fiscal year and what kind of an impact the tariffs have.
Such a roller coaster and whiplash when it comes to the tariffs. I mean, Donald Trump says all different kinds of things. He pulls back at the last minute. Now we're seeing almost as much from the courts, where one court puts a pause on it, and then another court puts a pause on the pause in terms of tariffs and whether the president has the authority or not. Could end up at the Supreme Court on an expedited basis. Where do we stand now on this Friday, Jeremie?
Yeah, I mean, that's the back and forth, right? To your point, on Wednesday, it was a court stepping in, a trade court stepping in to block the tariffs because they had gone too far, and the means in which they were using to justify the tariffs were not justified. And then yesterday, it was an appeals court stepping in and reinstating the administration's ability to impose those tariffs. So to your point, we're going to see this play out in the courts. The administration, the U.S. administration, has promised to fight this through to the Supreme Court if need be, and have even said that if they lose in the courts, they will find different means in which to justify the imposition of these tariffs. This is a trade policy they are going to stick with. That appears to be clear. But the uncertainty and the back and forth is causing a lot of, problems for businesses and volatility in the market, Todd. We're seeing massive fluctuation in the markets, as we have seen on many occasions throughout Donald Trump's time in office already here. This is, a big challenge that the business sector is facing, trying to deal with not only the threat of the tariffs, but the uncertainty and the constant change in whether or not they will be imposed, which sectors will and won't be impacted. It is a constant moving target that is very challenging for businesses to deal with.
Jeremie Charron in Ottawa, thanks for this.